Over the years, there have been countless conspiracy theories that have fueled the imagination of believers. From NASA's fake landing on the moon to JFK's assassination, and even recently the COVID-19 pandemic, these theories abound. Although many of them have been disproved, a few have turned out to be true. In today's video, we're going to talk about one of the most absurd conspiracy theories that started as a work of fiction but turned out to be true. We are going to talk about Operation Snow White and how the Church of Scientology got over 5,000 secret agents into different government organizations to steal documents that were perceived as a threat to the church. But to understand what Operation Snow White was all about, we have to go back to study how the Church of Scientology was formed by the American author L. Ron Hubbard. Depending on who you ask, Hubbard is either a con artist who tricked thousands of people to get money from them, or a respected religious leader who founded one of the most well-known religions in the world today. Hubbard was born on March 13, 1911 in Tilden, Nebraska. His mother was a teacher, while his father served as a U.S. Navy officer. Because of the nature of the job his father did, Hubbard spent much of his childhood in different places around the United States and overseas. In 1930, Hubbard enrolled at George Washington University to study civil engineering, but he did poorly at school and eventually dropped out in his second year. Although later in life he would claim that he graduated from the university and studied nuclear physics, none of this was true. Despite failing in school, Hubbard was very good at storytelling, so he started publishing various short stories and fictions in pulp fiction magazines during the 1930s. Hubbard was a prolific writer who explored a wide variety of genres, but his best works were fantasy and science fiction stories. He wrote under different pen names and had to survive on a mere rate of just 1 cent per word. However, Hubbard was not happy with this situation, and he was ready to do anything to make more money. He once said that writing for a penny a word is ridiculous. If a man really wants to make $1 million, the best way would be to start his own religion. And that was exactly what Hubbard did, but we'll get into that shortly. Hubbard applied to join the United States Navy in 1941 with a letter of recommendation that he had written by himself. He briefly commanded 2 ships during his career with the United States Navy, but was removed from command both times. In one instance, Hubbard claimed to have destroyed 2 Japanese submarines, but upon further investigation, it turned out to be a log. In another instance, he ordered the crew to fire in the direction of the Coronado Islands, which belonged to Mexico, an ally of the United States. Following his stint with the United States Navy, Hubbard published his widely acclaimed book Dianetics, The Modern Science of Mental Health in 1950. The book immediately became a bestseller with over 50,000 copies sold by August of that same year. The basic principle of Dianetics is that the brain records every experience in a person's life, whether good or bad. These experiences are stored in what he called engrams, which could cause emotional or physical problems if triggered later in life. However, he claimed that by carrying out what he called auditing, a person can be cleared of these engrams, leading to being clear and having a perfectly functioning mind. Surprisingly, many people participated in this auditing for a hefty fee of $500. This unprecedented success prompted Hubbard to pursue his long-term dreams of starting his own religion. He called this new religion Scientology, and he founded the Church of Scientology based on his teachings of Dianetics in 1954. Scientology became a cultural phenomenon after its invention by Hubbard, and he began touring the country, demonstrating his newly formed religion as a cure for the psychological ills of mankind. The organization eventually grew into a profitable business as the members paid at least $500 to be cleared. Of course, this drew the attention of various external bodies to the organization, and among them was the IRS. In 1958, the IRS withdrew the Church of Scientology's tax exemption after it found out that its founder had been profiting from the church's income. Following this, Hubbard and the church attracted unfavorable publicity across the media. He responded to this by creating the Guardian's Office in 1966, a new agency within the organization responsible for protecting the public image of the church. Their methods involved using any and every means to get hold of any negative information and destroy it. In addition, they use intimidation and blackmail to prevent people, especially past members, from saying anything negative about the church and its leadership. One of the earliest assignments of the Guardian's office was code-named Operation Snow White. The details of the project were outlined in Guardian Order 732, written by Hubbard, for the removal and correction of erroneous Scientology files. And by erroneous, Hubbard meant that every file that portrayed the Church of Scientology should be removed from every government office. Operation Snow White began effectively in 1974 after two members of the Guardian's office, Gerald Wolfe and Michael Meisner, were able to gain employment at the IRS as clerk typists. Their job description was very clear. They were to look out for any incriminating documents relating to Scientology and destroy them, and report every activity to the Guardian office. Wolfe and Meisner executed the plan effectively, breaking into offices with fake identification cards to obtain documents relating to the Church of Scientology. In another instance, they received word that the IRS would have a meeting on Scientology's tax-exempt status. In response, the Guardian office instructed them to bug the room before the meeting, which they did. Over time, the duo carried out more difficult tasks like breaking into the offices of the Department of Justice to retrieve documents. On one of their missions at the IRS building, a cleaning lady noticed their suspicious behavior and notified the security guard, but they were allowed to continue after they presented their fake identification cards. Their next target was the U.S. Courthouse for the District of Columbia. The duo gained access to the building several times using their old techniques. But they were eventually caught by a night librarian who contacted the FBI. Although they managed to escape, it wasn't long after this before they were arrested. In July of 1977, the FBI raided various Church of Scientology locations in an operation that involved 156 FBI agents. After several hours, the FBI filled a 16-ton truck with documents containing the group's illegal actions against the government, as well as any other person the church perceived to be a threat. Operation Snow White officially ended in December 1979 after 11 members of the Guardian's office were sentenced to jail. Until today, this remains one of the largest infiltrations of the United States government in history. Although Hubbard was not sentenced, he spent most of his life after this in hiding. He eventually died on January 24, 1986, of a stroke at the age of 74. He was replaced by David Miscavige, who still heads the church. Under his leadership, the church continues to expand, and the tax-exempt status was also restored in 1993. But the Church of Scientology still remains a subject of controversies even today.